Visit from a Vampire. Part 9. Adrian and Lily strolled through the aisles of the nearest supermarket, Ethan loading up on snacks while Lily walked beside him, her gaze sweeping over the shelves with faint amusement. Even though she didn't need food, she seemed to enjoy watching Ethan pick out things he liked: chips, candy, a few drinks. Once they paid and made their way back to the graveyard, the place was as silent and eerie as before. They reached the crypt, but there was no sign of the teenagers. "Looks like they won't be back any time soon," Ethan remarked with a chuckle as they walked back inside. Lily smirked. "I think we scared them off pretty good." Inside, they sat down, Ethan on the edge of the matriarch's stone coffin and Lily on a smaller, older one. The flickering candlelight added to the crypt's strange, cozy atmosphere. Ethan opened a bag of chips and started munching, while Lily reclined, leaning back with her arms crossed behind her head, watching him with a small, thoughtful smile. "So," Ethan said after a while, "this place really suits you. It's quiet, dark, and, well, kind of spooky, but it's peaceful." Lily chuckled. "That's one way to describe it. I'm still looking for something better. A place where I can stay longer." She hesitated, then added softly, "I've lived in nicer places, though." Ethan raised an eyebrow, sensing there was more to that statement. He looked over at her, curiosity tugging at him. "Like where?" Lily's smile faded slightly, her eyes distant for a moment. "There was a time when I lived in castles, estates, even secret underground mansions, back when my family was powerful." She paused, her gaze flickering to the stone walls around them. "But that was long ago. After the war. Well, it's not something I talk about much." Ethan nodded, recognizing that she was only willing to reveal a sliver of her past. He didn't push. Instead, he shifted the conversation. "You don't miss it? The old life?" Lily shrugged, looking thoughtful. "Sometimes. But things were complicated. I didn't exactly leave on good terms with certain people." The night passed slowly, their conversation flowing with a quiet, natural ease that neither of them expected. It began with small things. Ethan sharing snippets of his life back in his small town, stories of lazy summer days and familiar faces he hadn't seen in a while. He spoke about growing up with an unremarkable yet comforting routine, a life that was simple until Lily had appeared and opened the door to something much larger, much darker. Lily listened intently, her eyes softening in the candlelight, though every now and then a distant, unreadable expression crossed her face. When Ethan turned the conversation toward her, she hesitated at first, but as the hours stretched on, she began to let little pieces of her own story slip through. She talked of her travels, but in a vague, almost detached way, as though she were recounting events from someone else's life. "I've been to many places," she said, her voice distant. "Europe, Asia, some corners of the world you might never imagine. But after a while, everywhere feels the same. Time stretches on. People change. But the loneliness? That stays." Ethan, who had always imagined vampires as these grand, powerful creatures, found himself staring at her with a different kind of awe. There was a heaviness to her words, a sadness that couldn't be hidden beneath her teasing smirks and playful demeanor. He realized then that for all her strength and mystery, Lily carried centuries of solitude on her shoulders. "Don't you ever get tired of it?" Ethan asked quietly, the question hanging in the air between them. "Living so long? Seeing so much change?" Lily turned her gaze to the flickering candles, her expression unreadable for a long moment. "Tired?" She seemed to taste the word as if trying to determine how much truth it held for her. "I suppose so. But it's more than that. It's hard to stay attached to anything. Everything you care about, it eventually fades. People, places, they all disappear." Her voice softened, but there was a bitter edge to it. "After a while, you stop trying to hold on." Ethan felt a knot form in his chest, realizing just how different their lives were. His world was still so small, while hers spanned lifetimes. He couldn't imagine what it was like to watch everything and everyone you care about slip away. Every place you go, every person you meet, it all blends together after a while, she said softly, her eyes taking on a faraway look. You start to forget why you're even traveling, why you keep going. I used to think that I had a mission, but now I'm not so sure. Ethan felt the weight of her words, but he didn't know what to say. How could he? He had no frame of reference for what it felt like to live for centuries, to watch the world change while you remained the same. But he realized then that maybe, just maybe, that's why she had stuck around him. He was something new, something alive in a world that had grown stale for her. Before long, they noticed the sky outside starting to lighten, the deep, heavy darkness giving way to the faintest shade of blue on the horizon. Dawn was approaching, and with it came the reminder that time was still moving, even in their hidden corner of the world. I didn't realize how late it had gotten, Ethan murmured, glancing toward the crypt's entrance. Or early, I guess. Lily stretched her arms lazily, looking almost wistful. It happens when you're not paying attention to time. Sometimes I forget how long the night can be, or how quickly it can slip away. Ethan turned to her, his curiosity still burning. Do vampires actually sleep during the day? Lily gave a slow nod, though there was a small smile on her lips. We do, though it's more like resting. We don't need as much sleep as humans. She gestured toward the stone sarcophagus she had claimed as her resting place. I sleep on top of that coffin. There was a brief silence between them before Ethan hesitated, glancing at the second coffin in the room. Mind if I stay here for a while? He asked, his voice a little unsure. I haven't slept much lately, and I feel oddly comfortable here. Lily raised an eyebrow, amusement flickering across her face. You want to sleep in a crypt? Well, when you put it like that, Ethan trailed off with a grin. But yeah, I think I'll try it. It's different and peaceful. Lily gave him a soft smile. You're welcome to stay. She pointed at the other stone coffin. That one's all yours. Ethan climbed onto the cold stone and lay back, feeling the smooth surface beneath him. It was strange, but not as uncomfortable as he had imagined. Before long, exhaustion took over, and he drifted off, lulled by the quiet stillness of the crypt. Lily sat up on her own coffin, watching him as his breathing slowed and steadied, a soft smile on her lips. There was something about him, this young human, that stirred something deep within her. Long-forgotten feelings, emotions she had buried centuries ago. He was just a boy, a mortal. But somehow he had managed to make her feel alive again. For a moment she just sat there looking at him, her expression tender. She had spent so long closing herself off from the world, from people. She hadn't wanted to feel anything. But now here he was, this fragile, kind-hearted boy who had somehow wormed his way into her ancient, cold heart. She felt like a teenager again, experiencing the world through his eyes. He was different. She swore to herself quietly that she would protect this at all costs. No matter what dangers came, no matter what enemies lurked in the shadows, she would keep him safe. As dawn approached, she quietly blew out the candles one by one, plunging the crypt into soft darkness. Then she lay down on her own coffin, closing her eyes, letting sleep take her as the first rays of the sun crept over the horizon outside. That's all for tonight. If you enjoy my bedtime stories, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for joining me tonight.